So, team, before we go on for today's session, what we'll do is okay. Great. So, team, before we go on, okay, let's just have a quick look at what we have seen in the last session. Okay, in a minute or two, and then we'll go further. Okay, now you see, yesterday we had started looking into a very important concept as far as DevOps is concerned. Okay, because if you see from since a couple of sessions, we have actually started deep diving into the real core concepts within DevOps. So, as a part of which, one of the very important concept that we have started looking into is, as we call it, if you see here, yeah, okay. So, as we call it, the version control systems. Okay, so the last couple of sessions we have been looking at that. We have seen what kind of version control system and what is the importance of version control system in a DevOps environment or even in a development environment. Okay, what kind of features and the functionalities and the benefits that you get as a part of having that. Thereafter, we have looked into the types of the version control system, let be in the form of CVCS and DVCS. We have seen the nuances between that. Okay, when to go for which and which, or basically which one is better in which case. In fact, distributed or decentralized version control systems are a lot better for the very reason that we discussed yesterday or the day before. And yesterday, in fact, we had started looking into Git and GitHub, how we can use them as our source code management or source code management systems. Okay, we have seen how what advantages that you get over there if you start using Git. Okay, so we've seen what advantage. And yesterday, in fact, we had started looking into this. Okay, so the day before yesterday, we had outlined it that this is what we're going to do. And yesterday, we started working on it. Okay, now, fifth the important things, team, today as well, we are going to go with that. So it's important that you recall it. That in order to get going, okay, we require a place where we will be installing the Git client, okay, which is where the local repository will reside. On the other hand, we require a remote place where the remote repository will be kept. And in this case, we have used GitHub. Yes, the GitHub is there. And yeah, we have seen an entire Git workflow yesterday. Okay, before that, we have downloaded the personal access token as well. And you can see this is the Git workflow that we had started looking into yesterday. Okay, so you can have working directory, you can have staging area, you have Git repository. These are some of the concepts that that we get as a part of the Git environment. Okay, and working in a Git repository for that matter. Okay. But thereafter, team, I had shown you some demonstration of that entire thing. Okay, we have seen how basically we can set up the Git there. Okay, and basically we get going about your GitHub and communication between that client and your GitHub. Okay, yesterday we had looked at it, I mean, from my local machine, which was Windows. Okay, but in many cases, and you will see in as we are moving further, we'll be using EC2 machines, okay, or the cloud compute machines. Okay, so let's just quickly set one over there today. Let's just go for EC2 instances. Let's just see how many of them we have it. Okay, I believe this is the Linux instance that we had used, right? If you remember, some time back. Okay, we had used this one. Okay, but right now what I'll do, no, I'll just get rid of all of them. But let's just create a new one, okay? Because I want to attach a particular key pair to it. Okay, so let's call it, for example, this I'll refer to it as Git demo instance. Okay, so I mean, I'll just put it into a smaller case. But anyway, I want to show you how from scratch it is as well possible. Yesterday was, in fact, we had seen the very important concepts. Okay, but today we'll as well see how it is easy to set up the Git environment as well if you don't have one. So Git demo instance, I'll call it. I'll go with Amazon Linux 2023. Okay, fine. Will not change much here. T2 macro is fine. Key pair, I'll select one that I'll be going with. Like, let's just say I go with this last one, okay, which is in the name of demo key pair 26th October. Okay, let's go with that. Then networking and all, we are going to keep it mostly default, but yes, I would like to allow for HTTP traffic there. Storage and everything, we are not going to change. Okay, advanced details, we don't need any. Okay, so with that, it's very easy. We can launch an instance where we're going to set this entire setup. Okay. Meanwhile, I'll also do one more thing is I'm going to open up my GitHub account. Okay, I'm sure you must have done that already. And you can see over here, we have our different Git repositories that we are working with. Now, in fact, this is basically yesterday's Git repository. If you remember, we have dealt with. Okay, we have worked with as a part of yesterday's basically setup. Anyway, so team, let's just go back where we were. Okay, if I go back to EC2. Okay, now you see I don't have, if I click on the instances, we have got our instance running. Okay, let's just wait for it to initialize in a minute. Anytime soon, it will be ready. In fact, we'll go for it even before that. But I just want it to be, okay, make sure that it's all ready. Because what we'll do, team, meanwhile, is let's just connect to this machine, okay, or this instance. Okay, you know the process well, we can connect to it from this connect option as well. Okay, we can connect on this connect option. And you can go and click on connect instance connect as well. It is a simplest of the ways, but I can show you how you can connect to it from your local machine as well. Okay, so just give a second. Just give me a second. I'm sharing my screen back again. Okay, here we go. I'm sharing it back again. So what I want to do is, this is a place team where I have kept my key pair. Okay, that's the one that we have used to create this one. Okay, so with the same key pair, I'll be logging into my instance thereafter. Okay, so how do you do it? You know the process well. Okay, so I'll go back to over here. I'm going to use the SSH client to connect to. So you have to open the SSH client, look at your private key that I've downloaded. Okay, this is the key that we want. Okay, and then we are going to use the ch mode. I mean, we are not in the Linux to use it. Okay, but yeah, I'll go ahead and click on this particular command, ssh-i demo key pair 26 October PEM, and then I want to connect to this instance. So I'll just use this exact same thing. Let's just see if it does work. Okay, you can see I have connected to it. Now, again, I've told you, in terms of best practices, you should be using the browser best one so that you don't have to put any credentials. You don't have to configure it this way. Okay, but SSH, you see, it's another way how you can connect your machines from your local machine too. Okay, now, you see we have connected to a machine. Okay, and if I just do a clear, this is our Linux environment that we are at. And let's just carry out some of the things that will require to set up a Git environment. So what I'm showing right now, I'll just give you an idea, by the way, on the whiteboard too. Okay, before we do that. Okay, so now what I'm doing, yesterday we did it with our own laptop. It was easier because I already had that setup done there, right? And the major focus yesterday was to understand the Git workflow and the pushing and everything of that. And the GitHub was the major concern. But we never discussed about the laptop that I was having, isn't it? I had already everything configured there. We did not put much attention to that, but now it's time to do that. Okay, so that's why I've chosen the EC2 machine, just so that I can show you the setup from scratch if required. Okay, and this will be applicable, or this you can use anytime or anywhere you want, as long as you have an AWS account. So what we are going for, team, right now. Okay, so this is the way. This is what exactly we have. Okay, we have an EC2 machine. Okay, and now we are going to connect to from that EC2 machine over to, and this is something that we will require it, team. Okay, going further with our DevOps projects as well. So that's why it's important that we connect with some cloud environment. Okay, so this is your EC2 machine, and this is your GitHub repository. Okay, so let's just set up. As I've told you, the very first thing that you'll require is you need to configure Git over here, installation and everything. Let's just do that. So the very first command I'll use is to sudo yum install. I'll first do update of this environment. Sudo yum update -y. It's complete. There's nothing to be updated. That's a good thing. Then we'll install Git on top of it. For example, if I do let's just see if it is already there. If it is there, we don't have to do much. We'll go ahead and see for the Git version. You can see it is saying that the Git command was not found. Okay, so the Git client is not installed here. That is what the point is. Okay. So team, what we're going to do now is we're going to see how we're going to install the Git here. Okay, and then we will get going. So let's just do that. Okay, I'll use the command, for example, sudo yum install and Git. So put a -y at the end of it, just so that it will not prompt me for yes or no again. Let's just go with it. Press enter, and you can see it's getting installed. The Git is getting installed. Git client is getting installed. Okay, so you see it has been installed successfully there. And now if I do a Git version, it should be present there. Okay, and you can see the Git has been installed successfully on EC2 machine. So team, this is the way. I mean, I'm just making it a lot more, you can see, general, so that, I mean, you can use it on any machine, or you can spin this kind of environment up anytime that you want. Okay, if you want, I'll just share you the instruction. I mean, some of the commands that I'll be using as a part of it. Do let me know if you want it. Now, if you see the next thing that we want to do, yes, Himanshu, you are saying something? Okay, all good. Okay, I think my speaker was kind of, okay, there was some sound from the other end. All right, so team, like I was saying, okay. I think I saw your mic on, that's why. All right, team. Now, just understand this part. Okay, so we have installed the Git on our local machine. So if you just have a look at, so not local machine, rather the EC2 machine, because we have configured the Git as configuration is a bit something that we are yet to do. We have just installed it as of now. Okay, so in order to get going, okay, we need to communicate, you know, the process well, how you can communicate or how you can set up the connection across your GitHub repository, right? So that we can do as a part of what we have done yesterday as well. Okay. For example, if I go here, back here, okay, what we can easily do here is that let's just say, mm, let's just say we create a file. Okay. Or rather, what I'll do easily is let's just create a folder here, mkdir. We'll create a folder here. I'll call it my demo repo. Okay, so we are creating a folder with the name demo repo. Okay, now you see in this folder, what we'll do is we are going to, for example, in this particular folder, what we'll do is we will clone our yesterday's repository. Okay, because you see, yesterday I've shown you how you can create a repository there and then push a code from your local machine to there. But here I can show you that how you can clone it back over here. Okay, so for that we can use a command team. Now this is the next command I wanted to discuss with you. The next command that we're going to use here in this particular folder. Okay, we'll move into that folder first, by the way. The next command that we'll be using, we call it git clone. So I'm going to clone that repository from that place that we've had. So if I go back to my GitHub, you see this is what my GitHub looks like. And this is the repository that I'm willing to clone back here. So what I can do in that regard, click on code here. I'll get this HTTPS URL. And we'll go back here and we will put it. Okay, so you see git clone and we are putting that particular URL there. Okay, let's just press enter. What happened? Yeah, let's just press enter. You can see it has received the objects remote cloning into the repository and seems like we were able to receive the objects from over there. Okay, so this was the repository. If I just go back here and if I do an ls there, okay, you can see there is a repository that has been cloned. Okay, and if I go within that, let me just go for my DevOps demo 21st November. You see, it should let me get inside it. Then we can do an ls and see. Okay, there's a readme.md file. So we don't have much there. For example, if I go here, we only have that readme.md file. Okay. Now that we have got this repository, okay, let's just send some files from over here. Okay. So now that we are over here, you see, we are over here. I want to do what? I want to send some files from this place to that particular repository. So let's just create a new file here. Okay, in the name of, I'll call it touch. You know, that's why, if you remember, that's why we have learned the Linux commands back then. Touch. I'll call it hello.txt. We'll just create that. You can see it has been created. Now I need to do git. Particularly, just a second. You see, by the way, team, why it was possible to pull in is because it was a public repository as well. Just keep an eye on that too. Okay, we have created a public repository. That's why it's possible to clone it that way. Okay. Now if I go back, you see, now here it will be the authentication issues that will come later. So let's just do what? Let's just see for git status. Okay, yesterday we have seen that too, git status. It will tell you what is the status of your files. And right now you can see there's a file with the name hello.txt that is untracked. As in the file is not yet indexed. Okay. So let's just go ahead, team, and index that file. So what I'll do is, you know the process well, git add. You may want to add all the files that are there, but especially, you see, the name of the file is hello.txt that I want to add. Okay, but let's go next. Okay, so I've added that file. If I do a get status now, you see that the new file hello.txt has been added. Now, in the next command, as I've told you, Git workflow, I hope you are able to remember. We have seen that yesterday already. Okay, this is the same Git workflow we are looking at right now. I've done the Git add there. Okay, now the next thing is Git commit. I'll do that Git commit -m, and I'll just put up a message there suggesting my demo Git code. So I'll just commit it. And you can see the commit has been done. Okay, it is asking me for some global configurations that I need to do, but it's not mandatory. Let's just skip that for now. Clear it. So Git commit is done, team. Now, the next thing, okay, we need to do a Git push. Okay, let's just see if it does work. And now, team, it is asking me for my username. Okay, so here you have to put the username of your GitHub repository. For example, let's just say the username is Swami -GitHub -user. Let's just do that. Okay, then press enter. And then it is asking me for the password. Now, in case of password, you have to put that particular, if you remember, we have seen that GitHub token, sorry, we have seen that GitHub access, personal access token, right? That we downloaded yesterday. Okay, so you need to put it as a password for that. Okay, so if I go back here in my folders, you will see there's a Git token. I don't know when have I used it. Okay, let's just. Okay, 9/11. I think it must be newer one. Okay, so I'll just use this. Okay, I told you yesterday, make sure that you are using a valid token. Go back there, you have to paste it. Okay, authentication failed for just a second. Okay, so it has pushed it. Okay, I had put a wrong GitHub password token. Okay, I had not pushed it properly. So when I put that, you see, when I put that GitHub token, now you might be wondering, okay, why am I not able to see that GitHub token? So it is hidden. You just have to paste it there once, and it will work. And you can see it seems like we were able to send the file from our location to over there. Let's just verify that. So go to the GitHub, and if I refresh this, you'll see that there's a hello.txt file that we have received there. Okay, so team, it is very similar to what we have done yesterday. Yesterday was a bit different because if you remember yesterday, I had shown you how you can. Yesterday was different because in the yesterday's demo, what I had shown you is that we had created our Git, or we had initialized our Git repository on our local machine itself. And then from there, after initializing it and after doing everything, then we had pushed our code to over, and we had added the origin as well, if you remember, right? Do you remember? I think we had used the command git origin, git add origin, right? And with that, we had added the origin. So none of that is required. I'm able to clone it as well as per our requirement. Now, as such, team, if you just have a look at the Git workflow, if I may say. Okay, now, in terms of Git workflow, as such, there are many things that we can carry out. Okay, many as in, let me just tell you that. Okay, let me just Go here. Okay. So just understand this workflow. Okay. This is something that we'll be using it as well. Going further. So for example, this is your, as I've told you, the working directory, right? This is where you are performing all the modifications and changes and your uh, coding. Okay. And then, as I've told you, we have on the other end, we have our remote repository. Now, what kind of actions can we perform? So one of them that I've just now shown you is that you can basically carry out the operation of git clone. Okay, so that's exactly what I've shown you right now. Is what happens is when you do a git clone, you can clone that remote repository back to your local machine over there. Okay, now, as I've told you, there are further git workflow that's possible within the working directory. So when you're working in the working directory, then as you'll go further, as I've told you over here, okay, you will add it to the staging area. Let's just put it into single, I mean, in a single page, okay, staging area. Okay, now how it happens? So for this, use git add command. Then, as I've told you, what you will do thereafter is you will push it to the local directory, or you'll commit it to the local repository. Okay, this happens with git commit. And once you have done this, then from here, okay, once you have put it over here, from here, it will go down to your remote repository. For example, you see, it goes like this. Like this. When you do a git push. Okay, so this is the kind of workflow that we have when we are working in a Git environment. And that too, you see, with a remote and a local repository concepts, as we discussed. Now, team, there is one more problem, and I want your full attention to it. So let's just say this is GitHub. Okay, now I'll talk about GitHub. Same thing is there on the local repository as well. Okay, I'm talking about the remote repository first, and then we'll go for the local repository. Okay, let's just assume that this is your GitHub repository. Okay, and as I've told you, isn't it? I mean, from the DevOps standpoint, just have a look at it. Okay, this is important. I've told you that in DevOps, we have an entire workflow in DevOps. You can see this kind of workflow, isn't it? GitHub sits over here, but thereafter there are many phases or many steps that we take up in order to set up a software development lifecycle. So you see, what I was saying is, after this GitHub, then you further have build, then you have test, and so on. Now, you see, that's why GitHub, this is the place where you're going to keep your code, right? This is the place where you're going to keep your code. Right? Now, the thing is, this code that I've kept here, okay, yes, one or the other developer might have done that, but let's assume that you have as such multiple developers who are willing to modify this code. Now, this is important, okay? Please pay attention. There are, as such, multiple developers because you see, a project could have multiple developers as a part of it, right? If you're working on a big project like this. So, team, when you have such multiple developers part of your environment, what may happen is if I ask, for example, this is developer A, okay, Dev A. If I am allowing Dev A to modify the final code here, Dev B as well, Dev C as well, let's just assume what will happen. Okay, if I'm allowing all of them to get inside and modify the change just like that, it's not a good thing, right? So, because what may happen when developer A is working on that production code, because this is going into production, by the way. Okay, just be aware of this fact that if I go with this code, this exact code is going to trigger the entire process, and finally it will go into production. So the problem here is that when one of the developer is working on that code, if simultaneously other is working, the third one is working, okay, because of some changes that the first one do, which will affect the second one, and second changes will affect the other one, and all of a sudden you will see that your application will be at the risk of a crash down or a breakdown. Now, how to avoid it? How to prevent this from happening? Because this is really bad. So in here, team, that's where we require a proper mechanism for such access control. Now, what is access control and how can we provide it? So the idea here is that we should never allow such an access, direct access to anyone. Rather, there is a way you can do it. So the way it goes is, first of all, let's just say developer A. Okay, let's just think about this particular person. Okay, developer A. And same goes for others too thereafter. Let's just say developer A wants to work on this stable code. Now I will not allow, okay, this is, for example, this is a request. So I will not allow developer A to directly modify that because, I mean, you see, it might be the case that developer A is not so, I mean, let's just say assuming, okay, he's a junior developer. Or maybe that he is not so capable, or rather you'll see, I mean, you might know, right? I mean, this person may not have the capability to directly work on the production. That is one thing. Second, as such, I don't want to provide access directly to anyone, or rather to all of them together, because ultimately it can, as I've told you like earlier before, it can create many problems if they are working together and modifying all the things all at once. So the way it is handled, I'll tell you, okay? So for when the dev A wants to modify something on the code, instead of allowing that, we give or we create something called as, there's a concept here that we create a branch from this code. Okay, so this, we call it branch. Okay, so we will provide it, the developer, with the branch. Now, what is a branch? Branch is nothing but that developer will be given an exact copy of the final code. I mean, the developer will not have the access to the, I mean, will not be given direct access to the final code. Rather, you will be given, the developer will be given a copy of that code. Okay, so if I just want to put out the numbering to this overall environment, this will be the first step. This will be the second. Now, what is the third step? Now, developer A, when it receives that code, okay, developer A will do the corresponding modifications in that code. Right? Developer A will perform the modifications. Okay, this is basically the third step. Now, after the modification, shall I allow it to be merged into the production? No. Again, there's a small thing that you should do thereafter too. So after this is done, the same developer, okay, so you see the flow. First, it will request for the code, but it will be given a branch of itself. In that branch, the developer will perform the modifications on the code, and then developer does something really interesting. Okay, developer creates what we refer to it as the pull request. Pull request with this particular code. Now you see, what is pull request? Now, pull request is a request of a developer suggesting that he has modified some code and the developer thinks that it is ready to move into production. Because again, this is the fourth. This is the fourth. So my developer is creating a pull request, which to suggest that, okay, the modification that the developer has done in that branch, it will be valid. Or it is something that developer thinks that it should go into production. So it will create a pull request. Now, the effect of the pull request is that this pull request will go to some authority. Okay, let's just say he is a senior developer. He's a senior developer. So the request will go to that senior developer. Now the senior developer, the senior developer has two options here. I'll just mark the number as well, 4, 5. And here the senior developer has two options. One is, after looking at the request, it sees that, okay, that particular code change is not good enough, or that particular code change is not stable to go into production, or that code change is not something that following the compliance, or anything, whatever the reason might be. The first option that the developer can take, the senior developer, is that outright it can reject that request. Okay, I'll just not call it this, I'll call it 6E. Or it has another option which will, or we call it 6B in fact. In here, the senior developer thinks that the code is really good and should go into production. Okay, so team, this is a convoluted way, right? I mean, I could have directly given the access to the code and allow the person to do the modifications, but this is never a good idea. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, so team, you see, like I was saying, that these are some of the steps that are a part of, I mean, one of the very common and important process in these SCMs and these VCS is that you are never given the direct access to this. By the way, this is also referred to it as the master or the main branch. Okay, or the main branch. Okay, the branch where you're actually carrying the final code. You're actually carrying the code which is to go into production. Okay, so This is, I mean, just have a look at it. I mean, it seems a lot complicated, but it is a very simple process. Okay, the idea is very simple. The idea is that no developer should have direct access to the final code that is going into production. If the developer wants that access, provide that access through this entire process. The developer needs to have its branch of its own. In that branch, the developer can do the modifications. And those modifications, only when a senior developer allows it to the pull request, okay, then only those changes will go into master again. Otherwise, that request is outright rejected. Let's just see for the demo of it. That will make it a lot clearer. Okay, theoretically might not be as clearer as you'll see it with the demo. So let's just go and see for the demo of it. So for that, I'll go into GitHub. Okay, I'll show you the demo first of all of the same on the remote repository. The same thing like I've told here, it is as well possible on the local repository as well. This is interesting. You see, what I'm showing right now here is at the GitHub, but the same thing will be possible on our local repository as well, that we'll look at a bit later. Okay. So let's just go ahead, team, and let's just get this pull request and the branching. For example, if I go here, you see this code that we have sent. Okay, it has been sent onto the main branch that we have. We have a README file there. Yesterday, I believe we had a master branch as well where we had put that index.html file. Okay, but right now we have a main branch that we are going with. Okay, where we are carrying. This is a default branch, by the way. So I'll just rather modify this. Okay, in the GitHub, we refer to it as the main branch. Okay, so don't get confused. Okay. Now, how do we create, or how, right now, if you see, this is in the main branch. Okay, we just have a main branch here. If I go to the two branches, just to avoid any conflict, what I can do is, this is the main branch, which is the default branch. You can see over here. Okay, we can view for the rules and rename the branch over there as well. Okay, but I would like to delete this particular master branch for time being. Okay, so let's just delete that. So we just have right now our main branch. Okay, so let me just go back to the code. Okay, and now we just have the main branch, which is the default branch. Okay, now team, what we'll do is, let's just say there's a developer A who is willing to do some modifications. Let's just see I am the developer. So the very first thing, and this is the final code by the way, okay, just have a look at this hello.txt. What I'll just do, just to make it a final code, I'll just modify this and write a sentence there. This is the final code of the application. Okay, I'm just telling you with a simple example. This is the code that I've written here. Okay, let's just commit it and make it final. Okay, so I'll go back. You see, now we have this main branch, which is the branch where, or from where, the entire further process will initiate. Okay, right now in this branch, we have this message that has been typed in. Now team, let's just see for the power of branching. Now you have to go here. As I've told you, we just have one branch right now. Okay, if I click that, you'll see that there's only main branch, but now I can create a new branch. Let's just say there is a developer with the name Swami S, and I'm creating this branch for Swami. I just give it a name Swami. And where do I want to branch from? So yes, the code that I want to modify is in the main branch. It could have been another branch as well. Okay, that as well is possible. But right now we are just looking about the main and the other for timing. So go ahead and click on create a new branch. And you can see we have just gotten created the Swami named branch. Okay, and just to give an idea of what it has done is, for example, if you see right now, these are the files that are there in my main branch. But if I click here, I can even switch to the Swami branch, and you'll see I have the same set of files there. But this branch is different branch with the Swami name. Now, let's just say I am Swami. So am I. In fact, I am. And now I want to do some, or I have been tasked by my manager to do some modifications in the code. So I've got the exact copy of the production code. Now I'm going to go here in the hello.txt and I'm going to do some modifications in the code. For example, I'll say here that, okay, I want to edit this code. And I'll modify something here. For example, I'll say that, okay, this is the feature update for our application as done by Swami S. Okay, so let's just assume that it could have been a code. I've just not put that intentionally, but just understand that what we are doing here is that we are just I'm just modifying the files in the production environment. Okay. So after doing this, I'm going to commit the changes. Yes, I'm about to update my hello.txt file. Yes, I'm very much sure. Okay, you can see, and the code has been updated. So if I go back to the same repository again, you can see that in the Swami branch, you have this hello.txt, which is where this modified code is put. Whereas the interesting fact I'll show you now, team, is that if I go and if I switch back to main branch, just have a look at the main branch now. In the main branch, if I go to that hello.txt, you will see that there is no modification done. Okay, so that is what the power of branching is. That branching, in the branching, you will have the appropriate changes being done to that particular branch, but those will not directly reflect into the production branch or your main branch. There is a way how you can make it reflect. Now, nowadays, GitHub has come up with better, some easier access. For example, you can see here, compare and pull request. It is already telling me there is a change in the Swami branch. Do you want to compare and create a pull request? Okay, so you can use this, but I'll show you the traditional way of using it. Is once you have done a change here like this, you can go ahead and click on pull request. I want to create a pull request, right, from the main branch. Oh, sorry, I want to create a pull request from my Swami branch. So first of all, I'll go to the Swami branch. Okay, and then I'll go to the pull request. So as I've told you that we need to create a pull request. Okay, so you can, it is already telling me you can do it directly here, but no, I want to show you the traditional way. So I click on here, create new pull request. And then here you have to choose from where you want to merge to where. So I want to merge it to main and I want to merge it from Swami. Just understand the meaning of it. Okay, I'm saying that I want to merge into the base main through the Swami branch. That's why I've just changed this compare Swami with main. And it is saying that, okay, this is a review the changes in the comparison with the others. That's fine. If you just have a look at it, it is suggesting me what changes will happen if I merge Swami into main. So what's happening essentially is that it is saying that these are the changes that will take place. Hello.txt file will be changed. And the change will be that earlier this was the, this is the code that is there, but as well, this will be the new code that will be added. You can see there's a plus sign to it. Okay, plus sign indicates that this code will be added. If you want to just zoom in a bit more, you just have a look at it. You will see that the same thing. Like I was saying that if I create this pull request, what will happen? This as well is being told to me. Okay, that this particular line of statement will be added. So yes, as that Swami user, I'll go ahead and click on create the pull request. Yes, it will mean hello.txt update. Yes, these are the changes that will happen. As a part of that, I'm sure, and I'll click on create the pull request. And you can see the pull request has been created. Now, team, as I've told you, ideally how it goes is when you create a pull request, then this pull request will go for approval to some user or the other. Okay, so you can add a rule here, okay, as you want. Okay, so for example, you can go here, you can create a request name there, you can have a bypass list, target branches, rules. Okay, you can define the rule set here entirely the way we want. But the idea is that we can add a rule, okay, to ensure we can create a rule set to ensure specific people will approve your request. You can add the people's there over here. We have not even set up continuous integration. That's fine. GitHub Actions or nothing. And this branch has no conflicts with the main branch. So I'm fine. Okay. So this is the kind of request it will go to your senior developer. Okay. Where the senior developer will review that request. Okay. It will go down and see, okay, this is the kind of pull request that has been created. Okay. What kind of commits are there? Okay. So it has only one commit. And for what changes are going to be there? Okay, so I see that, okay, these are the changes that will be happening as a part of it. Okay, and then after, if I'm fine with it, I'll go back to over there. Okay, over there, and then I'll click on merge pull request. Merge as in I want to merge that into production. But if I'm not so fine with it, I can close that pull request as well. Close is like, it is like rejecting that request. Okay, so just like that, I'll go ahead right now and click on merge the pull request. Yes, are you sure you want to merge it? Yes, I'm 100% sure. Click on merge, and you see the pull request has been successfully merged and closed. You can even have the option to delete the older branch or the merging branch. That as well is fine. But otherwise, if I show you, okay, this merger has happened. Now, if I go back to the code, okay, so you'll see that earlier in the Swami branch, we had this particular code, if you remember, this 2-liner code. But now if I go back to the main branch, you see, and if I look at that hello.txt, you will see that the code has been updated. Okay. So team, this is a very important process, an important concept from within GitHub or any SCM or VCS is the concept of access control, or is the method of access control. How are you providing the best way possible, as much as possible rather, to make sure that the access is being given properly. Again, this is the way it happens in the Git environment. Okay, so this is the concept team that we wanted to see. We have seen today what is, how we can set up the Git and the GitHub environment through EC2 machine. And thereafter, we have looked into a very important concept, which is branching and pull request. Okay. So after that, what I'll do, and as well, I'll suggest you the same thing, go back to the instance. You don't want the instance running like that overnight. We'll be using this instance tomorrow. Okay, so instance state, I'll stop it. Okay, so that we can resume using it from Monday again. Okay, we'll be using it for multiple further tasks. Timing, okay, this is the one that we wanted, and we have used it for that. It will be stopped. All right, team. So yeah, this is what we wanted to look into today. Okay, I hope it's clear. If you have any doubt, please do let me know. Meanwhile, I'll just export this whiteboard for your reference, which you can use it thereafter for your own self-study. Okay, so give me a second.
Sorry for interrupting you here, but I have one doubt. Hello?
Give me a second. I'm here.
Hello, sir, I'm audible?
Manish, your voice is very low.
Oh, now it's clear.
No,
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I have one doubt here. So,
Uh-huh.
can I install this application in my company laptop or not? It's required some kind of a permissions or
Which one?
the GitHub application.
No, the GitHub is not an application. GitHub is a platform, which is a web platform, just like we use Facebook. It is similar to that. So
Okay.
there is no requirement of installing it. You just have to have browser and an internet connection, and with that you can go on the GitHub and access it there. Okay, unless I'll tell you, unless there is a specific, like many companies have some blocked websites. So similarly, if they have any of such restriction, it might happen. But otherwise, 99.99%, I think no company will block GitHub because it is a very common and very popular and very useful tool to use. Manish.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Just one thing I'll suggest is this Git installation, on the corporate laptop. That you see to it, because installations and configurations, the software download or installations, that might be a restriction at certain corporate laptops. So just see to it that are you allowed to download and install Git on your platform. If not, very easy method, go ahead and create an EC2 machine and install it there. Okay, like I have done today, so that it will not be a problem at all.
Got it. Thank you.
Right, great. Thank you for asking the question. I think this should be the question in many others' minds. And see, I hope it is clear, okay, for everyone too. Thank you, Manish. Yes. But team, let me just share you the whiteboard that we have for today. Where is that? Yeah. Okay, whiteboard. And yeah, today's date is 22nd November. Okay, so I think we'll meet again on Monday. Monday from now, team, from next week onwards. Okay, I mean, we have already started it, but we are actually deep diving into DevOps. Okay, so just make sure that you're following along. And if you even if you miss out on one other session, make sure to follow the recordings there. Okay, but be sure to understand what's happening and how it's going. In case you don't, do let me know. Okay, I mean, we'll discuss that, but make sure that you are able to follow along. Okay, just a minute. Give me a second. So here we go. Okay, and also export it into PDF format as you asked for. All right, almost done. It's now getting uploaded. Okay, I'll just share you first of all the PDF link. And then I'll share you the OneNote link as well. Okay, so here we go. Okay, this is the link of the PDF, by the way, team. Have a look at it. Okay, then I'm sharing you the link of the OneNote as well, if required. Okay, this is the OneNote link. So, all right, team. With that, thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. And yeah, I'll see you on Monday. We're going to deep dive into these topics and we're going to actually kind of start integrating the things together under the DevOps environment. Okay. So, thank you, team. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye.